I'm really excited to be doing this call with you. We're joined by Rebecca Pritchard to talk more on the topic of financial management for women. Rebecca, welcome.
Thank
Um,
you for having me.
Thank you. So I guess, let's start maybe with an introduction to yourself, kind of what made you go down this line of work, and just, yeah, general intro.
Amazing. So I'm Rebecca Pritchard, Senior Financial Planner at Rising Tide. And as a kid, I always loved money. I was that kid. And as I got older, I was really motivated to improve my own life through money and then eventually professionally help other people to do the same. So I think in Australia, certainly, and even across the world, that financial stress is preventable with the right tools, with the right strategies. And there's so much we can do to improve the well-being of our lives. And so that's what I do with my clients, and with the content that I put out there is to motivate, excite, engage people to care about their money, be deliberate with their money, and make sure that their money translates to something meaningful for their own lives.
So we know that women experience the world differently to men, and these differences can come in the form of opportunities, different life stages, what we see around us. I think just yesterday we saw that, what was it, like over half of nearly 5,000 companies have a gender pay gap. And when you combine that with other stats that I've just kind of seen floating around, that when women retire, they typically have, I think it was like 52% less in super than men. And that, 81% of one-parent families are headed by women. Like, we can quickly see how I think the topic of economic inclusion and wealth management needs to be better for women generally. Um, I'm curious, have you seen much of this gender difference in your work?
Yes, it's something that comes up every day. And it's something I'm really passionate about, because the clients that are often walking through the door for me are the women who are saying, I want to do something better, different about this. Can you help me? Where do I start? So it is really driven by empowerment. It's driven by education. You mentioned around the UN and the Sustainable Development Goals. Equality for women and education quality are two of the major pins that actually unlock a lot of the other sustainable development goals that have been set. And whilst we live in a wonderful country here in Australia, these concepts still apply. And so women taking care of their financial health is a gatekeeper to then improve their physical and their mental health, their career opportunities, their security in retirement, the flexibility that they have. And we know that women over the age of 55 are the fastest growing group of homeless people in Australia. And that is, like, it blows my mind, right? That is entirely, it should be avoidable rather than something that is expanding. And so the decisions that we make, at each stage of life, in each class of society, in each facet, whether it's an individual, a household, a company, in government, all of these combined have a meaningful difference for economic outcomes for women. And that the flow and impact of stronger economic outcomes for women benefits the entire community.
What do you see as being the biggest financial differences between, women and other genders, particularly men?
So there's three main differences that we see between men and women when it comes to their financial strategy. So choosing a values-led strategy, prioritizing security and flexibility, and also just being a more prudent investor. So in terms of a values-led strategy, I'm talking about prioritizing your values in the way you manage your cash flow, in the way you invest, in the way you think about risk management. So that could include debt management, it could include insurances or estate planning. So making sure that you're really thinking about your why, and connecting that with your financial strategy. So we know as financial advisors, one of the best things you can do to succeed in your goals is make sure that they're real goals, and then align your strategy to do that. And historically, women have been fantastic at this, but I want to see more of it. I absolutely want to see more of it. other component is prioritizing security and flexibility. Often these two can actually be in conflict, right? Like the things we want to do to be defensive can mean that we have less flexibility going forward, or vice versa. So finding a balance between these two aspects, building a really secure financial foundation. So that again could be through cash management, insurances, owning your own home if that's relevant for you. That builds the foundation that then you can build on top of that and take risks or pursue flexibility, whether it's through family, whether it's through changes in your career, travel, adventure, further education. So these, whilst they seem like they're in conflict at first glance, you can find a really healthy balance between security and flexibility if you're clever and deliberate with how you manage your money.
Yeah.
The final point I mentioned was around women being prudent investors. So this has been consistently proven in research, not just in Australia, but across the world, that women are better investors than men. I love this so much. And, when we talk about better investors, I'm talking about outperformance over time, over medium to long term. So women traditionally exhibit less frequent trading behaviors. They're less likely to invest in a speculative stock. They have a greater emphasis on long-term investment horizons. They also display a heightened sense of self-awareness. So we know as women where we've got gaps. We're not pretending that we've got all the information and that we're just making it up as we go. And all of those factors combine to actually, when women invest, that they get better outcomes.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. Because when you're saying that, women, I guess, over the long term have produced, I guess, better results as investors. I'm like, why is that stat just not published?
Buried in there, right?
Yeah. What would you suggest? I guess, have you got any specific financial tips for women in terms of like how to get started, or I guess how to approach investing generally?
Yeah. So I have 4 money management tips. So they are to get organized, to anchor your strategy in your goals and values, to automate everything, and to consider investing as non-negotiable. So if I unpack each of those, when we think about getting organized with your money management, I would say successful money management, like you're not going to trip over that. It's not going to be a fluke. It's not going to be an accident. It is the result of really intentional and deliberate organization. So you don't have to be staying up every night or spending every weekend cruising through spreadsheets to manage your money well, but you do need to be deliberate with your financial affairs and organized to lay the foundation for financial success, because that then lets, the 8th wonder of the world, which is compounding, or the magic of time, do its thing if you've been meticulous along the way. Anchoring your strategy in goals and values will allow you to build a really appropriate and sticky financial strategy. So there's always really sexy or distracting things that pop up when it comes to saving or investing or spending our money. And if what we're doing is tied to our goals and values that are important to us, you are far more likely to succeed along the way. So we're less likely to be distracted. We're less likely to get confused or distracted by something shiny over there, whether it's, should I buy a house or should I go buy that thing at the shops? It doesn't matter. If you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, you will stay the course. So this can be tied to, timelines in your life, specific goals, future aspirations, those different values of security or flexibility, generosity, and it will keep you consistent in the years to come. Now, I said that automation is queen, and I absolutely mean it. So right now you might be super excited about getting engaged with your finances, and I can tell you that's wonderful, but it will wane. So making sure that all of your financial system, as much as it is humanly possible, is automated will ensure that you have the best chance of success going forward. So I always say, remove the ability for you to stuff it up by making sure that everything humanly possible is automated. So I'm talking your phone bill. There's no glory about me paying that once a month. You automate it. You automate what you pay yourself to spend. You automate how you save. You automate your investing. Just take it all out of your hands. And again, give yourself the best chance of success going forward.
Yeah.
Final piece of the puzzle here is to view investing as non-negotiable. So investing used to be seen as like this shiny thing, like aspirational thing that we would do once we solved all the other money problems that we had in the world. But if you're planning to be alive in 3 years' time, you have an investing horizon. And investing is not optional, it's actually mandatory. The reason for that is because the cash rate or holding all of your money in cash means that you will actually go backwards over time. So investing does expose you to risk, of course it does, but it also provides you the opportunity that you will get ahead and you will reach your goals. So sticking in just cash is the one way to guarantee you're not going to reach them, or you're not going to reach them in the timeline that you've set. So really encouraging everyone to just switch that mindset, like yes, for investing, start small, start with what you've got, but get started.
And then something else you said about investing kind of becoming a core thing as opposed to like this shiny thing that you look at every now and again. I feel like, and this might be me interjecting my personal opinion, for a very long time, I felt like investment was something that, like it's an expense and I've worked hard for my money. I don't want to put it in a bucket. And I've got this, like, if I've got it, I need to hang on to it. I need to see it in cash. And I feel like kind of working at Forever Projects, working at a not-for-profit, we see very similar patterns kind of occurring with donating and with giving financially. And it's really interesting because we've had conversations internally and with experts in the field around the benefits of giving to your mental health and just your general sense of well-being. And it's never about how much you can give, which I imagine is very similar to investing as well. It's not how much you can put in. It's just like start with what you've got, start where you are. And it's similar to what you were saying. Could you maybe talk a little bit about the financial impact of charitable giving as well, and in what ways could this be made easier and more accessible for people?
Yeah, it's a good one to unpack when you think about, for millennials, Gen Z, whichever label you want to call the people of the community who are probably below the age of 60, yeah. It's something that comes up at an increasing rate. It comes up in two places. They care about where their money goes in terms of investing or even banking, and they care about causes and giving back. So whether that's through philanthropic activities that they're doing or charitable giving, combination thereof, it is something that is clearly on the minds of people in the community. And, like we've just been discussing, the themes are really consistent. You think about being deliberate. So it's not about waiting for someone to approach you with a raffle ticket to say, would you like to support this cause? It's looking internally, it's looking at your own values and thinking about what you care the most about. It's not that you don't care about other causes, but it's like, what is the thing that is going to motivate you and is really aligned with your values? And then what are you going to do about it? And in the same way, you're not going to trip over a good financial strategy. Charitable giving, again, you're not going to trip over that, generally speaking. So finding a way to embed it into your financial system. So two of the tips that I flag to all of my clients is around, again, automation. You'll get sick of me saying this one, Anya, but it's so important. So if you want to give, then find a way, get a direct debit. I know that most charities would support that in terms of making it really easy and minimizing the mental load that you have to carry. The other thing to do is to set a date with yourself, whether it's once every 6 months or once every 12 months. I recommend putting a reminder in your calendar to check in with the impact that you are personally having, check your intentions for the year ahead, make adjustments as needed so that whilst we want to use automation as a magical power, we also don't want to be on autopilot indefinitely. And we want to make sure that we are getting some of those emotional benefits from the giving that we do. We're checking in, like, what has that organization been
Love
doing?
that.
How is this translating? Can I actually afford to do more? Would I like to do it in a different way? Is there a way I can encourage others to get involved? So being really deliberate, and again, sticking it in your calendar so that 6 months doesn't pass by in the blink of an eye, and you don't forget about it.
What, like, through your work in wealth management, what are some things, or is there anything that people, might commonly misunderstand about the area?
Uh, that the biggest, sorry, the,
Sorry.
one of the most common misconceptions with money management and wealth planning is that it's something you do when you're wealthy,
Yeah.
opposed to it being part of the journey to get wealthy. And so this is a conversation that every single person can get involved in. There's an expression that not everyone needs a financial planner, but everyone needs a financial plan. And it's so true. And so starting with where you're at, starting with what you've got, but understanding that this journey,
Yeah.
engaging in this conversation, is how your situation is going to change,
Yeah.
rather than it being something that you do at the end point.
Yeah.
So thinking about your basic standard of living, how to protect yourself, how do you secure your basic needs or your family's needs, is a really important starting point. So we're not going straight to, like, I want to buy a helicopter. It's thinking about, how do I secure things for myself?
Yeah.
Building on that with your comfortable standard of living. So, what are the extra things that you would either like to maintain in your current lifestyle, or you would like to expand to going forward? And that might be where charitable giving comes into it. So, I'm a firm believer of put your own oxygen mask on first. Charitable giving is probably not featuring in your basic standard of living.
Yeah.
You've got to secure your own world first. But
Yeah.
then once you've got that foundation, you can build on that and build momentum with it as well.
Yeah. Fully. We've got a concept that we have here in Farber Projects where it's like, use what's in your hands. And
I
what
love
you
that.
were saying reminded me exactly of that. Like, yeah, you don't have to start with a monthly donation. You don't have to start with a one-off financial donation. It can be, you know, peer-to-peer fundraising. It can be a physical activity that raises money. Just start where you are and work your way up from there.
Chances are people know these concepts and
Yeah.
they just need to spin it around and apply it to this narrative.
Yeah, oh gosh. And sometimes, you might go through it, forget about it. And I love that, from now on we're gonna have this video to come back to be like, okay, just
Yes.
remember, we're good. We're good. Thank you so much for that. I feel like I got so much out of it. I'm so excited to share it with our community, and we're so happy to have you involved, talking us through all of that. So thank you.
It's a wonderful initiative. I'm very happy to be involved and support this conversation. The more we talk about this, the easier it gets. We
Yeah.
don't have to make it a big dramatic conversation that we have once a year. If we can break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces, we can have it over coffee, over drinks, at the dinner table. That's so much more approachable and accessible, and we're going to get so much better results from it as well.